Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing great and having a good day so far. Today, we've got something pretty cool to talk about because the latest Grounded 2 update just rolled out, and it's packed with fixes, improvements, and a bunch of interesting things that make a real difference if you've been playing lately. I've spent some time reading through the official notes, watching how the community's been reacting, and honestly, there's a lot to unpack in this one. So let's just talk about it naturally, like players comparing notes after a long session in the backyard. So the update we're talking about here is 0.2.0.1, a follow-up to that huge, hairy, and scary update that dropped recently. If you were around when that big one landed, you already know it was one of the biggest changes the game's had in months. It brought in that terrifying tarantula boss named Axel, some new armor sets, Halloween-themed decorations, and even some pretty deep adjustments to combat and performance. But as with any major update, it came with a few hiccups. Nothing unusual for a sandbox survival game this complex. That's where this patch steps in. It's basically Obsidian's way of cleaning up after the chaos, smoothing out the cracks, and keeping everything stable so players can just focus on exploring, building, and surviving without frustration. One of the biggest things this update fixed was the whole issue with resources regrowing right through your base. If you've been playing Grounded for a while, you probably know how annoying it can be when plants and weeds start poking through your carefully built floors like they own the place. Obsidian addressed that problem once before, but it wasn't completely gone. Now this new update aims to seal the deal. Well, mostly. The devs did say the fix isn't retroactive, meaning if you already have some rogue grass or stems growing through your structures, you'll still need to chop them down manually. Once you clear them, though, they shouldn't come back anymore. It's one of those small quality of life things that makes a huge difference when you're building big bases or decorating your space the way you like it. Now, another major part of this update focuses on stability, which honestly has been a big topic ever since point 2 dropped. A bunch of players were reporting random crashes, some when loading their saves, others while fighting, or even just walking around the yard. This patch included several crash fixes, and one of the most important ones was related to navigating creature cards. Apparently, there was an issue that could cause the game to just crash while scrolling through them. It's not a glamorous bug to talk about, this is Sorcerer, but it's the kind of fix that quietly makes everything smoother and more reliable. And speaking of crashing, they also tackled one of the scariest problems people were facing: infinite loading screens, especially on older or massive save files. If you've poured dozens or even hundreds of hours into your world, that's the last thing you want to see, loading forever and never actually getting into the game. Obsidian said, this issue is mostly resolved now, but there's still monitoring reports because a few players continue to run into it. They even suggested posting your info on the Steam thread if you're still stuck, so they can take a closer look. There's also a fix that's probably going to make a lot of controller players happy. Before this patch, some people had trouble with controller-based building and customization. Certain menu inputs didn't work right, and the whole experience could feel clunky. That's been corrected. So if you prefer playing Grounded from your couch instead of at a desk, you should notice that it feels more fluid now. On the tech side of things, there was a weird little issue with the digital art book not showing up properly because of some Unity quirks. They've ironed that out, so if you're one of the people who picked up the deluxe edition or like checking out behind-the-scenes content, you should finally be able to access it without a hitch. What's nice about this update is that it's not just patching the surface, it's continuing the effort Obsidian's been making since point 2 to really polish the game's performance. That last big update added more graphical and optimization options, letting players tweak view distance, foliage density, global illumination, and other things that affect both visuals and frame rate. It gave players more control, which is huge because Grounded runs on so many different systems. Whether you're on PC or console, being able to tune your settings and keep things stable is a big deal. Obsidian even estimated that the 0.2 series brought about a 15% boost in stability compared to the last version, and this new hotfix just reinforces that trend. And yeah, even though it's mostly bug fixes, this patch still feels like it matters because of the timing. The big update that came before it was so ambitious: new creatures, new armor, new seasonal content, that it basically reshaped how the game feels to play. With all those systems shifting around, it was inevitable that some things would break. So now, instead of feeling frustrated by crashes or weird glitches, players can focus on the fun stuff again. If you haven't updated yet, it's already live, so just restart your platform or verify your files on Steam. It's a small download compared to the full version, yeah, but it's definitely worth doing even if you haven't run into problems yourself. It's one of those updates that you might not notice right away, but you'll feel the difference over time. Less stuttering, fewer weird bugs, and smoother gameplay all around. That being said, there are still a few lingering reports floating around. Some players are saying that the infinite load issue didn't completely go away for them. Others are noticing small graphical hiccups or resource respawn oddities, though nowhere near as bad as before. Obsidian has been quick to respond, which is great to see. They're clearly keeping an eye on feedback and planning further patches if needed. If you're having trouble, it's a good idea to back up your saves manually, just in case. You can find your save files in the local directory, copy them somewhere safe, and that way you don't risk losing progress. And just from a player perspective, I think this patch represents something bigger about Grounded 2's current phase. It feels like the devs are settling into a rhythm, releasing a big content drop, then following it with quick, focused hotfixes. That's a really healthy cycle for a live survival game. It shows that they're listening and adjusting quickly instead of leaving problems to linger for weeks. In the long run, that's going to make Grounded 2 much more enjoyable and trustworthy to play. One thing I really like is how they've been transparent about which fixes are permanent and which ones aren't retroactive. That detail about needing to chop regrown resources manually might sound small, but it's actually a sign of good communication. They're not pretending it's magically solved. They're giving you clear steps to fully fix it yourself. And that's the kind of honesty that keeps a community engaged and understanding. If you're a builder, especially someone who spends hours perfecting your base layout, you're going to appreciate the peace of mind this gives. No more mysterious blades of grass shooting through your floor after every patch. And with those crash fixes in place, you'll probably find that big worlds feel more stable, even when you fill them with tons of structures, zip lines, and decorations. Honestly, I think we're starting to see Grounded 2's true shape form here. It's not just about adding flashy new creatures or weapons, it's about refining what's already great. This hotfix is the kind of thing that doesn't grab headlines, but it quietly improves everyone's experience. The backyard feels smoother, the systems work together better, and it's just easier to enjoy the world without worrying about something breaking mid-session. For anyone new to the game who maybe jumped in because of the hairy and scary update, this is the perfect moment to start fresh. The worst of the post-update bugs have been handled, and you can experience all the new stuff with fewer interruptions. Just make sure to keep your game updated and maybe check the community forums once in a while to see if there are any new patches on the horizon. Obsidian tends to keep up a pretty steady pace, so we might even see another round of fixes or small content tweaks soon. So yeah, overall, this 0.2.0.1 update might not sound flashy on the surface, but it's one of those necessary patches that really keep the game moving in the right direction. It cleans up the rough edges, boosts stability, and lets everyone just focus on what makes Grounded fun. Building crazy bases, fighting off giant bugs, exploring every inch of the yard, and discovering new secrets without worrying about crashes or broken mechanics. It's a reminder that a good update doesn't always need to add something new. Sometimes it just needs to make everything you already love work better. And that's basically the full story. Grounded 2 keeps getting better, step by step. And if this level of care continues, the game's future looks pretty promising. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Let me know how the update's been treating you, whether you've noticed improvements or if you're still hitting any weird bugs. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next one.